there's a lot of pain out there. There's a lot of suffering out there. There's a lot of stress in companies. Just look at the macro indicators. We have serious problems with engagement. We have serious problems with people feeling stressed at work. It's not fun to go to work. People are just miserable. They're not happy. And you see, and I've been, for instance, tracking the Elderman Trust report, all the indicators around employee engagement. Very stubbornly, they don't change. Now, you see companies sometimes celebrating, we've done this. Best Buy, for instance, is a good example of a company has done a very good job with meaning and purpose, and you can see that their culture has shifted and they're doing well. So they're not happy. And you see, and I've been, for instance, tracking the Elderman Trust report, all the indicators around employee engagement. Very stubbornly, they don't change. Now, you see companies sometimes celebrating, we've done this. Best Buy, for instance, is a good example of a company has done a very good job with meaning and purpose, and you can see that their culture has shifted and they're doing well. So there's some exceptions out there, but overall, for the most part, most companies have gotten the memo that they need to change. And when they have the solution, they have difficulty implementing the solution because the headwind is so strong.
So
And
you,
part
so
of
it's your need, like your passion and compassion for the need, got you to that particular business model? Because you were more a traditional OD consultant, and now you've created such a unique business. So is it the need that got you to that point, like your compassion for the opportunity? Is that what got you over the hump to say, yes, I can make a business out of these unique ideas that I have in my head, and these unique methodologies, like I could do this and I could become the father of meaningful purpose. Like, how did, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, Harold, you get the
Yeah,
question I'm trying to ask, right? Because
yeah,
that's a huge leap. Like, to become this kind of thought leader and really trust that, other people are listening. It's like, I've got a really cool idea.
yeah.
I want to become the mother or father of whatever. Like, how did you trust these amazing ideas enough to birth them in the way that you have into books and workshops and new methodologies that companies are using?
In terms of context, Betsy and Harold, it all started back in NTL, to be honest with you. I was trained in OD by the students of Kurt Lewin. Actually, I was fortunate enough to take a course with Benny, which was the last survival member of the core founders of NTL. And one thing that I noticed, it was very much based on humanistic psychology. So it was how do you bring humanity into the company? So there was constantly like socio-technical theories, and trying to find that perfect balance. And what happens through time is that unfortunately consulting firms took the OE model that was being developed by NTL. They took the humanity out of it. They kept it mechanical. They kept the tools, but it was at the expense of, it's all about making money. It's all about being profitable. So what I'm expressing is that I was very, and I have to give credit to other people, but at the same time, is the compassion, as you mentioned, my values, that I strongly believe that people need to be treated with dignity and respect, that we all have dreams and aspirations and fears and concerns. My role in life is to treat other people, that includes my wife, my business partners, my friends, so forth and so on, in a way that I'm not an obstacle for them to become their best version of themselves.
Mm.
And it's to behave in a way where people can flourish. So it's helping people see that there's value in being a giving person and being committed to making other people successful. It's not a win-lose. I don't lose by giving of myself to other people, or sharing my knowledge and methodology, but it's having a philosophy of life that giving is better than getting. And it's just operating out of that value system. So it's giving a meaning to people that they deserve to be treated with dignity, with respect, that they have dreams and aspirations. And if I don't treasure that, and I'm not part of the solution, I could set myself up to suffer the consequences of a system that is so narcissistic as we find it today. Unfortunately, if you can see it in politics, you can see it in many places. Yeah,
So it's your values and your
yeah,
passion drove you and said, whatever fear, it seems like that both of you, it's like, it's not like you're free from whatever concerns the typical human would have, but it's like the values and the passion, that's what overcomes whatever obstacles to do what you're meant to do. So
it's
you
having
mentioned
a
some.
meaning. Yeah, it's having a meaning of life that is noble, that is going to do something good to someone or something. And if you have a meaning of life that is noble, you'll be a happy person. You'll know what to do in order to find some problem out there that needs you, and that you're the answer for that problem, and you prepare yourself to solve that. And that gives you energy.
That is so beautiful. My gosh, I love that. You mentioned that things like people are miserable in work today. You know, like there's things that I see when people talk about like, oh, the rate of change and people are more challenged and more stressed than ever. I remember people talking about that when I was in grad school back in the 90s, you know, or like, but it does feel different. Like, what do you see as the burning challenge for leaders and companies today? Like, what is different about today that makes the world of work much more complicated than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
You want to start there, Earl? You want?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think one of the things that is different now that I'm hearing from leaders is this whole, due to the pandemic, the recontracting of whatever that psychological contract is with employees, because now everything has turned with regards to not who has the power or who has the choice, because employees have always had the choice, they just weren't sure of how to use it. But what employees are coming to me and saying, we are struggling with regards to our return to work policy, with how do we engage employees who are now more likely wanting to stay at home, or to have much more flexibility in both what they do, how they do it, who they report into. All those things have now been changed to the point that leaders have to lead much more, as Luis was saying, from a place of values, from a place of care, from a place of different than I need you to, fill in the blank for whatever product we're trying to produce. So that's why, for me, some of the work that I do is more with one-on-one leaders as opposed to larger systems, because I feel I can have a greater impact on this one VP when he or she is able to put in place the systems that will allow their organization to envision a future that is more of what they had hoped for, as opposed to what it was even 3 or 4 years ago. Not every coach is an OD consultant. Not every OD consultant is a coach. It is a large overlapping Venn diagram, but it is not always the case. And I find that my ability to ebb and flow between OD consultant and the systems they work in, and executive coach, and what are the behaviors you're demonstrating to be successful or ineffective, or effective or ineffective, serves well in those conversations. So to me, the biggest challenge that I'm feeling is, how does leaders lead a workforce who is dynamically changing, 5 generations in the workplace now in some situations, and be, successful in their own mind as far as what it looks like for them to be the leader they want to be. So yeah, I'll stop there. But that is a big challenge I'm seeing right now.
When you also mentioned earlier the diversity and inclusion work, like what's different
Yeah.
about diversity and inclusion now compared to 3 to 5, 10 years ago?
Well, it varies case by case, but I am finding more unfortunate organizations who are looking to check boxes. Unfortunately, they've either had some George Floyd moments, or they've had some corporate citizenship things that they wanted to say, we're doing this work. And that work is measured in, if culture changes is measured in years, DE&I work is measured in just as matter of time. And they're wanting something quicker, like, can we put diversity resource groups in place? Can we have a diversity council? Can we have a diversity tab on our website as a way of showing how engaged we are about leading across differences? And that's why, in some ways, while I'll say it's DE&I, because everyone recognizes that the work I try to do in that work is, how do I lead across differences?